Morning, my name is Dan Brown. I'm a student pilot, and this is for a brother to go over information that will be useful for you in the future. I'm not claiming to be an expert. I am not a CFI. This is not intended to be educational, only informational purposes only. So if you take anything I say and get in trouble with the FAA or a CFI, you're forewarned. Alright. We have in front of us a very crudely drawn airport diagram. And what we have is a 05 heading going this way and a 23 heading going this way. This is a pretty standard runway you see in western North Carolina. Excuse me. We will taxi out and hold short of the runway. Now, but something to be aware of is a hold short mark is going to be a solid line and a dashed line. If you're coming up on the solid line, that means the runway is in front of you. You wait at this solid line until all traffic is cleared from uncontrolled airport or ATC has given you clearance to incur a runway incursion and cross this line. Once you cross this line onto the active runway at heading of 05, lined up on the center line, you'll be flying what's called a left-hand traffic pattern. There are right-hand traffic patterns, but your airport information directory will tell you that. If there's no information given, it's a left-hand pattern. And this is for an uncontrolled airport, meaning there is no control tower. So, from start to finish, taxiing out, we would say something to the effect of, this is Cessna whatever Sierra, taxiing out runway 05, whatever airport traffic. And then once you get to the hold short line, which we just discussed as the solid dash line, you would radio in, this is whatever airport traffic, this is Cessna Sierra, departing runway 5, whatever airport traffic. At this point, you're going to want to look and make sure there is no ultralights, birds, lion pigs, or other possible things coming in to the runway that could damage the plane or damage you. But once you're sufficiently sure there is nothing coming that will hurt you, then you can enter out into the active runway. In this case, we're going to assume a course heading of 05. So taxiing out onto the active runway, lined up with the center line at 05, we will do our takeoff roll and get airborne. Now when you get airborne, you're going to want to climb out at V sub X. V sub X is your best rated climb. It's not your best performance climb, which would be V sub Y, but it's your best rate over a given time. So for the purposes of what a lot of people are trying to do, it's going to vary a little bit. In the plane that I fly most often, it's 79 knots. So showing a heading of 05 and a true airspeed of 79 knots, taking off roughly when I reach 500 feet above the runway. Now, you should never, 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 never attempt to make any turns off the course setting of the runway until you have 500 feet. Now, this is for an uncontrolled airport only. If it's a controlled airport, follow ATC's commands, vectors, headings, and airspeeds. You may only disobey an ATC command when you are declaring an emergency or when you have a TCAS or TCAS-2 system that is telling you you have an incursion incident. Once you've taken off and you've reached your 500 feet, we're going to do a left-hand turn onto what's called a crosswind. And what you're going to want to do is roughly fly 1 nautical mile out from the airport. Now, if you're flying a high-wing Cessna, which most of us do, this means that this is going to be very important to you on your base. Now, once you reach 1 mile, 1 mile out, you'll make another 90-degree left turn. Now, these turns are shallow turns. You know, I wouldn't get more than 15 degrees of bank in these turns. You're close to the airport. Your airspeed's not the biggest in the world, so the potential for a slipping stall is pretty great here. So once we've taken a 9-degree turn on a crosswind, we'll take another 9-degree turn on base. Now this means that our compass heading, or excuse me, our heading will be 23. We took off on 05, 90 degrees, then another 9 degrees, so we're on 23. We're flying parallel to the runway. Now if you look out over your left wing, the runway is going to be roughly 3/4 the way up the strut. So the support that supports the wing, roughly 3/4 the way up that support should be the runway. That's roughly about a mile out from the field. That's where you should be. Now once you get up here, if you've climbed out at V sub X, by the time you get ready to do your base, your downwind, you should be roughly at pattern altitude. Now for the airport that is anywhere USA we're going to use, we're going to declare a pattern altitude of 1,700 feet, which is totally obtainable by the rough beginning of your downwind leg. Now don't break your neck to get there. You've got the whole downwind to do it, but you need to be there within the first fourth of your downwind. Once you get ready to downwind, you would make the radio call. Anywhere USA airport traffic, this is Cessna Sierra, downwind runway 5 for landing, full stop. Airport traffic. At this point, you've let everybody in the blind know, hey, I'm intending to land on 05 and I'm downwind, so they know where you're at and what you're coming from. Now, two things you got to watch out for at this point is aircraft overflying the field and other aircraft wanting to enter the traffic pattern to land. Correctly, what these aircraft are going to do is fly into a 45-degree angle and join you. But that doesn't always happen. Sometimes guys fly in and just cut a 90 to land. Sometimes they just come straight in. So you really, as a pilot in command, have to be on alert. You don't really know what these people are going to do. I've had people come in from a higher altitude and drop in on me. I've had people come up from below me. And flying a high-wing Cessna, you can't really see above you too well. And conversely, if you're flying like a Piper Arrow or a RV or a Diamond, a DA-20, you can't see below you too well. So you've got a real big problem if you've got a Cessna, like we'll say my Pen's a Cessna and a Diamond. These two planes could be flying just like this, Diamond on top, Cessna on the bottom, and never have any clue the other is there. So this is why radios are very important. Well, once we're on the downwind leg and we've got our altitude obtained, we're going to go ahead and pull our power setting back on our throttle to just below the green of the RPM gauge. At this time, you're also going to want to apply carburetor heat. Because remember, carburetor icing can happen at many temperatures well above freezing. So you pull out your carburetor heat, and we're flying downwind. When we get a beam to the numbers, so here is 05, the numbers for the runway we're going to land. A beam means we are right even with the numbers. At this point, my recommendation is to apply 10 degrees of flaps. So just starting to slow us down. Nothing drastic, nothing that's going to cause any major slow flight issues. But remember, we are setting up for slow flight, so the controls are going to get more sensitive, and it's going to take more power to do things. Once you have flown out a sufficient distance on your downwind, and I'm not going to try to tell you how far this is because It's going to vary for wind conditions, for your ability, for your plane, for the runway conditions. But don't crowd yourself. They say 45 degrees from the end of the runway. Well, that is ideal. That is what you should be able to do. But if you're just learning to fly, don't crowd yourself. Take some more room. So once we get out here, we're going to make another 90-degree turn. This is going to be our base leg. Now, when we get out here to turn base, we of course got to tell everybody we're turning base. So it'll be Anywhere Airport USA. It's a Cessna Sierra, turning base runway 5, full stop, Anywhere Airport USA. Once we have turned this, then we have to consider wind correction. So I'm not going to get into that on this video. That's better explained by like the King videos, which I highly recommend. I'm just not going to go there. Once you've sufficiently got yourself close, maybe a little early, you can turn what's called your final approach, which is another 90-degree turn to the heading of 05, which is the runway head. Now, don't be so stuck on 05 you miss the runway. But if you're lined up on 05 and the runway is lined up with you, you're in a good shape. So again, radio calls this Anywhere Airport USA traffic, Cessna Sierra on final approach for runway 05, Anywhere USA Airport traffic. So we land. So we land. Now, when you land, do not be looking around the cockpit, flipping switches, try and put your flaps up, turning off the carb heat. As soon as you land, your first priority is to get your airplane slowed down to a very, very slow, manageable speed. I mean, your airspeed indicator shouldn't be showing hardly anything. It shouldn't be showing anything. Because you need to take and turn off the runway, and until you get across the solid line and the dash line, don't be worrying about any of that. Now, once you've crossed the solid and dash line, you've got one more radio call that's critical in this, and it would sound something like, Anywhere USA Airport traffic, this is Cessna Sierra. We have cleared the active runway 05, Anywhere USA Airport traffic. Now is the time for you to do your after landing checklist. Now is the time for you to put up your flaps, to turn off your carb heat, to turn your transponder to standby, and to do whatever else is necessary. And then, of course, standard procedures apply. Let people know where you're going to taxi and what you're going to do, and everybody will be happy with you. So, I hope that helps. I'm not very good at explaining it. I do it okay. I mean, nobody gets mad at me. So, hope that helps, and let me know if there's anything I can try to help you with.